Talk, shop, pop, movies.
Ahoy there, this is Derek, the Convicted Cinephile, and if you're a convicted cinephile yourself, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel down below. On my channel, I like to talk, shop, and pop open, that is, movies and physical media, and I am doing another Oscar tier list ranking. I've been enjoying these, and they're pretty fun to do, and they're surprisingly challenging for some reason. So I'm doing another one where I know for a fact I have seen every single one of these winners, and that is the Best Director winners of the 21st century. So that goes from everything from Steven Soderberg for Traffic up through last year's Everything Everywhere All at Once with the Danielses. Here are the categories I am doing this under. I have Oscar Gold, just like my Best Picture one. This is like a timeless classic winner, like undeniably amazing winner. Perfect in every way, best of its category, and at least arguably the best work of this director's career. Great movie, good winner means I like the movie a lot, and it's a solid winner. Maybe it's not the best work this person's ever done. Perhaps it's a makeup award for being so overdue for a directing Oscar. Hint, hint. That could fall in this category. I have good movie, wrong winner, which means I liked the movie, but it absolutely should not have won in this category. And at the bottom, I have flat out bad winner, which is pretty self explanatory. I honestly don't think I'm going to have anything in flat out bad winner given these choices, but I put that there just to see which way these shake out. So, yeah, let's get started. With the year 2000, we had Billy Elliot, Stephen Daldry, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon by Ang Lee, Aaron Brockovich from Steven Soderberg, Ridley Scott did Gladiator, and Steven Soderberg again for Traffic, which he won for Traffic. So yeah, he kind of had an unfair advantage being nominated for two movies. And I know they publicly said at the time, which is a little, they were never telling anyone to vote for Steven who weren't already going to. They were just saying, hey, if you're already voting for Steven here, vote for Traffic instead, because we're trying to focus our efforts. So it's a little shady. I like the movie quite a bit. It's not one of my favorites. It's a tough watch. I enjoy it. It's nothing I can watch over and over and over again. It's not a bad winner by any means, definitely. It's a good movie. It's not going to go in that bottom tier. But I and most people probably would agree, even though it's not one of my favorites of all time, this probably should have been Ridley Scott's year for Gladiator. So I'm gonna set this in great movie, good winner, because it is a good winner. But I think this should have been Ridley Scott's moment. His movie won Best Picture, for God's sakes, which they split sometimes, more often now than they used to. He's never won to this day. No, he just doesn't care. He's just a crotchety old man. It's kind of hilarious, actually. The next year we have A Beautiful Mind by Ron Howard, which was the winner. Ridley Scott again for Black Hawk Down. Robert Altman for Gosford Park. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring for Peter Jackson. And David Lynch for Mulholland Drive, which was a lone nomination. David Lynch gets those. The only two people who ever get those for Best Director are David Lynch and Robert Altman. It's kind of funny. It would have been cool if they would have just given it to David Lynch just because it's like, here, you're awesome, have an Oscar. But you usually don't win Best Director when it's the film's only nomination. Peter Jackson would eventually win, as we all know. Robert Altman also has never won an Oscar, or at least a competitive Oscar. Ridley Scott yet again. Ron Howard won for Beautiful Mind. It won Best Picture. It makes sense why it also took Best Director. I don't think it's the best in the category. This was, in my opinion at least, and probably true to an extent, very much so a makeup award for not getting nominated for Apollo 13, which he probably should have won Best Director for, and he somehow didn't even get nominated. He won at the DGA for it that year, so he deserved it for Apollo 13. This is definitely a quasi-makeup Oscar, I think. But given the competition that year, I will put it in great movie, good winner as well, because it was more of a overdue Oscar than a this is your best work ever Oscar, like it should have been for Apollo 13. 2002, we had Chicago, directed by Rob Marshall, Gangs of New York from Martin Scorsese, The Hours by Stephen Daldry, The Pianist, which won directed by Roman Polanski, and Talk to Her by Pedro Almodovar. So yeah, where's the pianist? There she is. It was kind of a surprise winner to an extent. Like everyone thought Chicago was just going to steamroll the evening, which it did to an extent. It got a handful of texts. It won supporting actress. It won best picture. It won best editing. But the pianist won 3 Oscars. One of them was Adrian Brody, as we saw in my last video, who is amazing. One was for screenplay, and then the other one was for best director for Roman Polanski. So this was his very long overdue Oscar. But out of every Roman Polanski movie I've seen, which I'll be honest is only a few, I would say this is his finest moment. I would put that in Oscar gold. It's a very personal story for him. It's a passion project. It's one of those movies that deserves to win. It's a tough story to tell, especially when it's as personal as it is. And I think The Pianist is great. And as much as I love Chicago, like if you put them both in front of me, which one would I rather watch more often? Probably Chicago, but it's a lot more fun than The Pianist. But The Pianist is at least as good of a movie. So I think that was the good choice for that year. 2003, we had Fernando Meirelles for City of God, which is sort of the surprise nominee in this category. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King by Peter Jackson, which won. Lost in Translation from Sofia Coppola, Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World by Peter Weir, and Mystic River, directed by Clint Eastwood. But Lord of the Rings won, deservedly so. It won for the sake of the entire trilogy, obviously, as well. It was the biggest thing to happen in movies, like since the original Star Wars movies, or I should say, from a technological standpoint, it's like the most impactful thing in the film industry since Star Wars, and then after this, who you'd say would probably be Avatar, blah blah blah. But Lord of the Rings is a lot better than Avatar. Uh, so I'm gonna definitely put this in Oscar gold. That was perfect moment, perfect win situation. He deserved it. He made three-hour long movies over the course of 18 months on a very minuscule nowadays $300 million budget, which sounds like a lot, but when you take into account that like the average Marvel movie nowadays costs almost $300 million, even for like the second and third tier characters, making those movies with $300 million even 20 years ago is a feat. So Lord of the Rings definitely gets the Oscar gold treatment from me. 2004, we had The Aviator by Martin Scorsese, Million Dollar Baby, the winner by Clint Eastwood, Ray, directed by Taylor Hackford, Sideways, directed by Alexander Payne, and Vera Drake, directed by Mike Leigh. Like I said, Clint Eastwood won for this. I was sort of rooting for Scorsese for The Aviator to finally win his Oscar. I really love The Aviator. Like I said, a lot more than most people. But I love Million Dollar Baby pretty much just as much. It's just not as showy of a film. But there's Million Dollar Baby down here. Clint Eastwood was a previous winner, which is kind of why it's stunk that someone else didn't win. I don't mind, people getting more than one Oscar if they deserve it, obviously. I didn't want this to win that specific award that year. I love the movie. The movie I put in Oscar gold, but as far as this with the count, I'm going to put this in great movie, good winner, because I really wanted this to be Scorsese's win. I think The Aviator was kind of the movie that made me fall in love with him, like I said before. It doesn't even have to be the gangster movies that everyone loves, like Goodfellas. I love me some Aviator, which I know is a rare thing to say. 2005, we have Brokeback Mountain by Ang Lee, which was the winner. Capote from Bennett Miller. Crash by Paul Haggis. Good Night and Good Luck by George Clooney. And Munich from Steven Spielberg. As we all know, Brokeback Mountain lost Best Picture to Crash, shamefully. But at least Ang Lee won Best Director that year, which was clearly the right choice. It was his first win. I will put this in Oscar gold, even though they made the wrong decision with Best Picture. They at least were smart enough to give Ang Lee the directing award, and it won screenplay. So it kind of proves it probably should have won Best Picture if it wins director and screenplay. That was only happened like 7 times in history where a movie won screenplay and director and lost Best Picture. The Pianist was another one, actually, just a few years before that. I did a video about it like last year. Movies that won screenplay and director but lost Best Picture. I want to say there was only 7 times that's happened. 2006, we have Babel by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. The Departed by Martin Scorsese, who famously won finally after years and years and years and years of never winning. Letters from Iwo Jima from Clint Eastwood. The Queen by Stephen Frears. And United 93 by Paul Greengrass. I still need to watch United 93. I've never seen that one. The other ones are all solid nominees. But as I said, The Departed won. I love the movie. But since, like I said in the opening of the thing, this was it is the best choice in the category, in my opinion, to win. But this is not the movie Martin Scorsese should have won his first directing Oscar for. So I'm going to put it in great movie, good winner. Even though it's a memorable win, it's sort of just like, oh yeah, that's the one he finally won for, kind of a thing. I love The Departed. It's one of my favorite movies. But as far as Academy Award wins goes for Mr. Scorsese, he should have won at least like two before he won for this. But given the competition, there was no way he was losing that year finally. 2007, we have The Diving Bell and the Butterfly by Julian Schnabel, Juno from Jason Reitman, Michael Clayton by Tony Gilroy, No Country for Old Men from Joel and Ethan Coen, the winners. There Will Be Blood by Tall. There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson. There we go, not Tall Thomas Anderson. As I said, the winner was No Country for Old Men. I'm absolutely putting this in Oscar Gold. It's like I said, I'm a little biased. If Paul Thomas Anderson would have won, I also would have been putting it in Oscar Gold because I think it is career best for both of these filmmakers. I'm not being so biased that I wouldn't put anything else in there. Either of those two could have won. It would have been Oscar Gold. This is my favorite Coen Brothers movie. It is the one they should have finally. I mean, it's a good one for them to win Best Picture. I would say they should have won for Fargo for Best Picture as well. But back then, they couldn't nominate both directors because they, for some reason, weren't allowed to credit two directors at once, which is why one of them was always the director. I think Joel was always the director and Ethan was always the producer, and then they both wrote it. So they won together for Fargo for writing, but they were never able to be nominated together as directors or producers until No Country. So it was the perfect moment to do it on their best film. Oscar Gold for me. All right, next, 2008, we have Curious Case of Benjamin Button by Mr. David Fincher, one of my all-time favorites. This was finally his first Best Director nomination, so that was nice. Frost Nixon by Ron Howard again. Milk by Gus Van Sant, The Reader by Stephen Daldry, and Slumdog Millionaire from Danny Boyle. This was a 5 for 5 Best Picture match here. Christopher Nolan was not nominated famously for The Dark Knight, nor was it for Best Picture because The Reader came in out of nowhere because of the whole Weinstein push bullshit. I like The Reader; it's a good movie, but come on, history has changed. The Dark Knight, as we all know, is pretty much the reason there is 10 Best Picture nominees now, along with like Wally that same year. But anywho, Slumdog Millionaire was the winner that year. Had The Dark Knight or something been in there instead, maybe it would be on a different category. But it is a career best directing feat, I would say, and it's only one of two, I think, nominations he had. Danny Boyle, I will put him in Oscar Gold. I put the movie in there as well. I'll put him in there for directing wins because it was just a very unique, out of nowhere kind of movie, and especially for him. Like, you look at a movie like that, you don't think, oh, of course Danny Boyle directed that movie. Like, no, it's weird. The next year, 2009, we have Avatar by James Cameron, The Hurt Locker by Catherine Bigelow, the winner, the first woman ever to win Best Director, Inglourious Bastard by Quentin Tarantino, Precious, directed by Lee Daniels, and Up in the Air, directed by Jason Reitman. As we all know, Hurt Locker won. It was the first woman to win Best Director. As a movie, I think I put it in great movie, good winner. But as a directing winner, I will put it in Oscar Gold because it is a legendary win. It's sad it took, 80-ish years for a woman to win Best Director. They shouldn't make it mandatory that one has to get nominated every year. That's stupid to think that way. But when it's deserved, it's deserved. And she was finally recognized, and she had a great career ahead of her with a lot of different genre movies, which I appreciate. So to come out with this little war movie that like nobody saw in theaters to just catch fire the way it did was impressive. And it's kind of like Slumdog Millionaire. It just kind of became this little movie that could, beating out the likes of Avatar of all things, which isn't as good of a movie. Let's just say that. 2010, we had Black Swan by Darren Aronofsky, his first directing nomination after all the years of him working. I think it's his only nomination still, isn't it? The Fighter by David O. Russell. I actually really like this category. I like The Fighter a lot. King's Speech by Tom Hooper, who won begrudgingly. The Social Network by David Fincher. And True Grit by my faves, the Coen brothers, yet again. I remember they also kind of bumped Christopher Nolan out for Inception that year, but at least it was for my favorite filmmaker, so I'm not going to argue. Oddly enough, the person I would bump out of this category to put Christopher Nolan in there is Tom Hooper, who won. So I might, yeah, just because of all those various I like King's Speech. It's a good movie. Definitely the wrong winner. I like the movie too much to put it in flat out bad winner. I'm not going to be a dick. I'll put it in good movie, wrong winner because I do like the movie a lot. It's not my least favorite of the movies in the five, but it's probably my least favorite directed movie of the five, and Inception, if you want to include that one in the bunch. So yeah, King's Speech, good movie, wrong winner. We all know David Fincher should have won. 2011, we had The Artist, which is the winner by Michael Hazanavicius. I can't even, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Michael Hazanavicius. I'll have to look that up phonetically. The Descendants by Alexander Payne, Hugo by Martin Scorsese, Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen, and The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick. The Artist is the winner here, like I said. Given the options, I prefer Hugo overall as a movie, but Martin Scorsese wasn't going to win again so soon, most likely. Although Hugo did great. It won 5 Oscars, which is the same amount that The Artist won. It just won all below the line stuff like visual effects and cinematography, things of that nature, I believe. I won't put this in Oscar gold. It is a great movie. Against the competition it had, honestly, I would put this in great movie, good winner, because I always say 2011 was kind of a weak year. Their Moneyball did not get in for Best Director that year. Woody Allen, Midnight in Paris is a solid movie. None of these outside of Hugo and The Artist really scream a Best Director win, unless they really wanted to give it to Terrence Malick for Tree of Life, who I'm just not a fan of. I'll be honest. All of his movies are just like shots of trees and blowing in the wind and children playing with bad audio mixes. But they're pretty. They're pretty to look at. I'll give them that. All right. What is next? 2012. The famous Ben Affleck got snubbed year for Argo. We have Amour by Michael Haneke, Beasts of the Southern Wild by Ben Zetlin, which is actually a cool movie if you haven't seen that. Life of Pi, which was the kind of surprise winner from Ang Lee. And anything was a surprise winner this year because Ben Affleck got snubbed, and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" Lincoln from Steven Spielberg and Silver Linings Playbook from David O. Russell. Yeah, it was funny because Quentin Tarantino had Django, Catherine Bigelow had Zero Dark 30, and Ben Affleck had Argo. All three of those missed, and then Amour and Beasts of Southern Wild kind of sneak in there at the last minute, which so everyone was like, what the hell's going on in this category? It's a very weird category that year. A lot of stuff missed that thought was like a guaranteed in. Pretty much the only two that it was down to for a win was Lincoln for Steven Spielberg, which is just like a solid everything is good about it movie, and Ang Lee for Life of Pi. And this year kind of started. Actually, you could argue that Hugo. Well, no, Hugo didn't win Best Director. I take that back. This is the year where directing really started to become a tech award as opposed to an above the line award. And it'll be more obvious the more years we see here, where Life of Pi won. Deservedly so, I would say, against the competition. So I will put that. I'm not going to put it in Oscar Gold. It's not as important of a win as his win for Brokeback Mountain, but it is a great movie and it's a good winner. It's a very hard movie to make. That's essentially why it won. It was a difficult movie to shoot, and the visual effects and everything put together as flawlessly as they were, especially at the time. Tragically, the special effects house that won their Oscar that year was ran out of business because of this movie, among other things. So there's 3 directors, I think, that won 2 Oscars in these 23 years, because I forgot Ang Lee won 2 as well. 2013, the Tech Award directing Oscar continues. We have American Hustle by David O. Russell. Never noticed how much that rhymed. Gravity, which won from Alfonso Cuarón. Nebraska from Alexander Payne. 12 Years a Slave by Steve McQueen. And The Wolf of Wall Street from Martin Scorsese. Gravity was the winner here. The tech giant Oscar winner yet again, kind of like Life of Pi. I think this should have won Best Picture. I understand why it didn't. But this one, I honestly will. This was the most impressive movie I had seen in a long time. This movie impressed me as much, if not more, than Avatar at the time when it came out. Probably since Lord of the Rings, I would say it was the most impressive movie from a technical standpoint. Avatar just looks like a video game to me. A really cool video game, but a video game nonetheless. Gravity was more impressive all around with its sound design and its visual effects. So Gravity is getting Oscar gold from me personally. I know if you don't agree, please tell me why in the comments. And, give me your favorites, your least favorites, as I always say. Next, we have 2014, Birdman, The Winner by Alejandro G. Iñárritu, Boyhood from Richard Linklater, Foxcatcher by Bennett Miller, being the first directing nomination since the category expanded that was not nominated for Best Picture, which is too bad. I actually really like Foxcatcher. I think it deserved it. Grand Budapest Hotel from Wes Anderson, and The Imitation Game by Morton Tildum. Tildum. Birdman, yeah, is the winner here. A lot of people wanted Richard Linklater to win for Boyhood. I think Birdman is way better of a movie, more interesting. Boyhood is a interesting experiment that went well, but I haven't rewatched it since. I don't find it to be that interesting of a movie to rewatch. Grand Budapest Hotel, I believe, is Wes Anderson's finest movie. It's easily my favorite. If he would have won, that would have been cool. But he'll probably win this year for his live action short, so he might actually finally win an Oscar this year. But Birdman was the more technically impressive movie yet again, and this one was on a much smaller scale. So for such a small budget movie, it had a budget of like $18 million or something like that. It was pretty small to take this amazing ensemble cast and do the all-in-one take style movie so flawlessly, but not make it feel like a gimmick, at least not to me. It all flowed perfectly. This one I will put as well an Oscar Gold as far as the best directing win, and it also won Best Picture. Next, we have 2015, The Big Short by Adam McKay, Mad Max Fury Road from George Miller. Such a cool nomination, that getting into so many categories. The Revenant, the winner from back-to-back winner from Alejandro G. Iñárritu, excuse me. Room by Lenny Abramson, that was kind of a surprise nomination. And Spotlight from Tom McCarthy, the eventual Best Picture winner. All of these movies won something, so that's always nice. The Revenant, I just rewatched this. Goddamn, is it pretty. I'm trying not to put two movies from the same director in the same lineup, because that would kind of go against this is their best movie against great movie, good winner. This one, it cuts close. I kind of want to put it up here in Oscar Gold as well, because it's just so beautifully shot, everything about it. But there was a much cooler choice to win that year, and it would have been a long overdue directing win for what I say would have been the right movie to do it for, and that is George Miller for Mad Max. He does have an Oscar. He won for Happy Feet. But yeah, George Miller's Mad Max is shot as well as The Revenant, I would say. It's the most action movie I've ever seen. That's what I always say. Whether or not it's the best one is a different conversation, but it's the most action movie I've ever seen. It is a 2-hour long car chase that never slows down. Yeah, it's an adrenaline rush of a thing. So because of that, I will put Revenant in great movie, good winner. It's cool that he won back-to-back years. That's like only happened once before in like the 50s, or it's 50 years since it happened, I think. But since I already have Birdman on the top row, I will put Revenant in a different one. But it's way too good of a movie to be called the wrong winner. 2016, we have Arrival by Dennis Villeneuve, depending on how you want to say it wrong. Hacksaw Ridge by Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's comeback movie. That was kind of cool. La La Land, the winner, from Damien Chazelle. Manchester by the Sea from Kenneth Lonergan. And Moonlight from Barry Jenkins. Famously, La La Land won Best Director, among other things, and then ended up losing Best Picture at the last second to Moonlight. I don't think there's something I would have rather won in this category. And I really like La La Land. I will put this in Oscar Gold. It is a beautifully shot, technical marvel of a movie. You see the trend here. Same thing went for The Revenant, and same thing would have went for Mad Max had either of those won that year. 2017, we have Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan finally getting his first Best Director nomination after all these snubs for Dark Knight and Inception and so on and so forth. Get Out by Jordan Peele, probably my favorite nomination in the bunch, to be honest. Lady Bird by Greta Gerwig. Phantom Thread by Paul Thomas Anderson, and The Shape of Water from Guillermo del Toro. Long overdue for some Oscar recognition. He should have probably won for, well, his film, Pan's Labyrinth, probably should have won Best International Film back in those days. It lost despite being nominated for 6 Oscars and winning 3 others. So it was finally his due. It was definitely he's an overdue kind of win. There's nothing here that screams that person absolutely should have won over Guillermo. So I will put his in Oscar Gold. It is a about time win that also is my personal favorite of the category, probably on par with Get Out. I just love that a little tiny horror movie like Get Out did so well through the year and ended up getting for fantastic nominations at the Oscars. 2018, debatably one of my least favorite years, at least in recent memory. We had Black Klansman, Spike Lee finally getting his Oscar nomination for Best Director, winning for screenplay that year. So he finally won his competitive Oscar as well. That was one of the highlights of that year. Black Klansman was my favorite movie out of all the Best Picture nominees that year, actually. Cold War from Powell Polakowski, The Favorite from Yorgos Lanthimos, Roma, the winner from, once again, Alfonso Cuarón, and Vice from Adam McKay. So Roma was the winner, destined to be the first Best Picture winner of an international nature. Yeah, that didn't happen, as we all know. I already have Alfonso Cuarón's Gravity in Oscar Gold. I will put this in Great Movie Good Winner because I don't want to put two movies from the same director in the same category. And I don't rewatch Roma ever. I watched it once. It was a beautifully made and shot movie, gorgeous to look at, a technical marvel once again, but on like a different kind of scale than something like, The Shape of Water, which was once again the more technical winner that year. See, it's a pattern. It's a pattern going. Uh, but yeah, Roma, no argument. Won Best Director. Everyone knew it would. Whether or not it was going to win Best Picture was the question, and sadly, that did not happen. Spike Lee was never going to win Director for Black Klansman, other than the fact that he's overdue. But luckily, he was nominated for Screenplay as well, and they were able to give it to him there. So everybody won that year. 2019, great year again. Yeah, so much better than 2018. It was almost sickening. We had The Irishman from Martin Scorsese, Joker by Todd Phillips, 1917, the presumed winner from Sam Mendes, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from Quentin Tarantino, and the sort of surprise winner, Parasite by Bong Joon-ho. Parasite made the most sense as a surprise Best Picture winner that year. I expected it sort of to win Best Picture by the time it came around to it, but I still did think 1917, the more technical of the movies, was going to go to Sam Mendes for his all-in-one take style 1917. I personally would vote for him in that category for this, but I love that Bong Joon-ho won, including Best Picture and Screenplay that year. Parasite's a great movie. Had 1917 one, I would also put it in Oscar Gold because I think it is the most impressive movie he would have won for over American Beauty. But I will still give Parasite Oscar Gold because what a landmark achievement that movie was at the Oscars. No arguments here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's a damn good Tarantino movie too. Those are 5 really great choices. 2020 Best Directing was the COVID year, as I always say. We had another round, the international slot going to Thomas Vinterberg, Mank for David Fincher, Minari for Lee Isaac Chung, Nomadland the winner with Chloe Zhao, and Promising Young Woman for Emerald Fennell, the first time and only time, I think, that 2 women have been nominated at the Oscars for Best Director in the same year. And Nomadland was the winner that year. It is not the technical achievement of the year, but 2020 did not give many technical achievements. If there were one in this category, it would probably be Mank by default. Good winner, great movie, I'll put it there. Cool to have another woman win Best Director. Not long after that, literally the year after, it would happen again. So that was cool. So on to 2021, we have Belfast with Kenneth Branagh, Drive My Car with Rizuki Hamaguchi, Licorice Pizza for Paul Thomas Anderson, The Power of the Dog, the winner with Jane Campion, and West Side Story remake with Steven Spielberg, his first musical. He did it. What a banger job he did. But yes, the very overdue for a Best Director win, Power of the Dog, won that year. I would probably put this in Great Movie, Good Winner, but this was the only thing this movie won, and there was no way in hell anything else is going to win. So I would put this in Oscar Gold because I think it is the perfect moment of her career to finally award her a Best Directing win. This movie, in my opinion, should have won Best Picture given the options that year. And then Coda just had to come out of nowhere and ruin everything. Not that I hate Coda, but it's like, come on, give it supporting actor, and it's fine. Just do that. Are we done here? We are. We got one left. We have last year's Banshees of Inisherin from Martin McDonagh, Everything Everywhere All at Once by the Daniels, The Fablemans by Steven Spielberg again, Tar from Todd Field, and the international slot once again going to Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Ostlund. Everything Everywhere won that year. I think this is Oscar Gold as far as directing wins goes. I think I put the movie itself in Great Movie, Good Winner because it wasn't my favorite movie. But as far as how complicated a tapestry of a film this is, they directed it as flawlessly as humanly possible. This movie should have been way more confusing than it was. In the wrong hands, it would have very much been. There's no way any other filmmaker could have directed their screenplay, and there's no way those directors could have any other person probably could have written it as well. So it's the perfect winner. Like I thought, I didn't put anything in flat out bad winner. King's Speech was absolutely the wrong winner, so that is on the bottom. Let's see what we got here to re-rank these. I would put Beautiful Mind. Like, I keep comparing it to like Apollo 13 in my head, but it's definitely under here for sure. Life of Pi is going pretty high up. I like this more than Traffic. I like that more than Traffic. I probably like The Artist more. I don't like Traffic that much, apparently. Revenant will be pretty damn high on here. That might honestly be all the way at the top. Roma's pretty. I'll put that there. That there. Nomadland. Might I might put that there. You know what? I think I might actually put Beautiful Mind above Traffic. I like Traffic is a little convoluted. Padded. I probably like The Direction of $1 Million Baby more than Departed. I like the movies about equally overall, but Hurt Locker, while it's great and it's a famous win, it's not one of it's I like the movie a lot, but it's not like I am a fan of like the more technically impressive directing wins. So I might do this and this. Parasites, Birdman, Gravity. Gravity's gonna be up higher. I'm gonna put it at the top for now. Lord of the Rings, put there. This top row is hard to do. I'm just trying. Who'd have thought? God, I really need to watch Parasite again. I haven't watched it like since it came out. Trying to think of just director. I'm not trying to like rank the movie. Just trying to think of how well directed it was, and like technically speaking, how well made it was. Yeah, I think I might leave it here. Yeah, I'm surprising myself by putting No Country for Old Men in third place. As perfect of a movie it is, Gravity and Lord of the Rings are just bigger technical achievements, so that's why they got the bump over No Country, despite me liking No Country more than Gravity as a movie overall, and probably about the same, if not more, than Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings gets first place. From top to bottom, we have Lord of the Rings, Gravity, No Country for Old Men, Slumdog Billionaire, Birdman, The Pianist, Brokeback Mountain, Shape of Water, La La Land, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Parasite, The Hurt Locker, Power of the Dog, The Revenant, $1 Million Baby, Life of Pi, The Departed, The Artist, Roma, Beautiful Mind, Traffic, Nomadland, and at the bottom, even though I like the movie, it is not the right winner that year, The King's Speech. Those are the best director winners of the 21st century. Please go back if you haven't. Watch the one I did for the best picture winners and the best actor winners. I might do best supporting actor next. I'm debating. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Yet again, my name is Derek. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Talk, shop, pop, movies.